I am Michael Fox. I'm sitting in Utah right now. I work with Hale Center Theater, and I am the treasurer for AACT, and I'm very pleased to welcome you here to our industry connection with Concord Theatricals. We have a couple of guests with us, Will Whitaker and Samantha Cooper, who are both sitting in New York and say hello. So wave for us so we see who you two are. If anyone wants to change their view to speaker view, you'll be able to see better, which one of them is speaking. Again, we encourage you to send your questions through the chat feature so that we can help you out and help you understand how we can create great synergy with Concord right now. And Samantha and Will have prepared a little something for us to spend a little bit of our time and kind of tell us what's out there, what they're looking forward to, and how they can help you. So I am going to turn the time over to them and let them get started. Good morning, guys.
Morning/afternoon. Thank you, Michael. I am Samantha. As Michael mentioned, I'm one of your amateur licensing coordinators at Concord Theatricals. I came through with Sam French, so I've been with the company overall, I think about 3.5, maybe almost 4 years at this time. I started working with K-12 and non-pro theaters, and now specifically with all of you and with my colleague, Will.
All right, thank you, Sam. Hi, everyone. My name is Will Whitaker. I'm an amateur licensing coordinator here at Concord Theatricals, working with Sam, specifically in your market. I've been with Concord now for almost 2 years, and I imagine I've emailed and spoken with many of you many times. And if not, it's great to meet you. We did one of these webinars last year around September, and it was super fun. So thank you for having us back and giving us some time to chat. And before we dive into everything, we just wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for your extremely, extremely hard work, your patience, and your perseverance over this past year. The past 14 months have been an incredibly challenging time for many of you and for the industry at large. We know the struggles that theaters of all sizes have been going through because we have been right here with you, working together and trying our best to weather this crazy storm. But the good news is that with rising levels of vaccinations and loosening of restrictions, we're finally starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So now comes the exciting part when we all get to plan a reopening of live theater across the country over the next 6 months. And during this time, we hope you keep Concord Theatricals in mind for your comeback seasons. And please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions or needs at all. So now Sam has some updates and reminders.
Yeah, so we'll just start generally. As a reminder, Concord Theatricals actually is the parent company for 4 different companies. So Rodgers and Hammerstein, Tams Whitmark, Samuel French, and the Andrew Lloyd Webber collection. And Will and I work with all 4 of those collections. So when you email us about any of those titles, we have access to all of that information, and we're happy to help you with any title from any of those catalogs. We are your non-professional licensing representative, so we're here to help you or to find information for any questions, any titles that you might have. And the best place to start, usually with questions, or if you're looking to find out more information about titles, is always our website, concordtheatricals.com. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, you'll find the search bar. So if you type in the title there, that'll take you either to the Perform page, which will tell you all your licensing details, or to the Shop page if there's merchandise scripts to buy. If you're looking to check availability or fees for any title, the first thing you're going to want to do is submit a license request. Those are non-binding to submit. If you need to cancel, that's okay, but that's the only way that we can tell you if the title is available and what those fees are going to look like. And you can submit multiple requests at one time. I know people, as they plan their seasons, have a couple of options, so feel free to submit multiple and then just let us know which ones you want to cancel. As a heads up, we do say our general processing time is 4 to 6 weeks. So as you're planning, feel free to submit those license requests whenever you're ready. We'll take requests up to 18 months in advance. And again, if you need to cancel, if you need to change dates, those are all things that we are happy to work with you on. But the sooner that you can let us know you're interested in the title, the sooner we can let you know both the availability and fees. We do our best to get to all requests much faster than that, but it does depend on if we need clearance from outside representation or if there's other restrictions on the title. So it's just a good idea to keep that 4 to 6 week time frame in mind. All right, now up to Will.
All right, an update on virtual and digital rights. So many of you, I'm sure, have taken advantage of our virtual and digital offerings over the past year, I hope, which is amazing. And we hope that this option has been working well for you. For now, Concord Theatricals continues to accept virtual and live stream requests through the website's standard license request feature. You just search the title and go to the perform page and click on request license. And while we do have some blanket approvals for a few titles, these rights are usually handled on a case-by-case basis, and we're always happy to reach out to the author's representation if necessary to see if we can clear these rights for you. And of course, we will also be sure to keep everyone in the loop regarding any changes or updates to offerings of these rights as the COVID-19 situation hopefully continues to improve as time goes on. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and so the next thing to talk about is payment plans and partial payments. I am seeing a lot of questions about payments and fees in general, so I'll give a little greater overview. Hopefully that will cover some of these questions. For amateur licenses, yes, full payment is required and execution of that license before you can begin any aspect of production. Our licensing fees in general are based on expected attendance. I know some of you have worked with Sam French in the past. It used to only be maximum capacity, but now licensing fees, the start is expected attendance and then ticket prices and your number of performances. And then it does vary from title to title from there, but that's sort of like the baseline. We do know—
Samantha, let me just
Yes.
jump in there for one quick question. I
Yeah.
think the question follow-up there is understanding that that's the standard practice for you. Is there any allowance that's being looked at in this moment where people are cash strapped?
Yeah, I was just about to talk about that,
Wonderful.
actually. Yeah, so we do understand that COVID has been a really tremendous financial burden. And through COVID, we do have a couple of payment plans available, and we are continuing that. So if you are cash strapped, or if you're just interested in hearing about them, the first thing to do always is to send an email to nonprofessional@concordtheatricals.com. I'll type that in the message in just a minute. That's also the email inbox for Will and I and our manager, Natty. That's our whole team, and we can always help you with questions from there. So that's just a general note. But we are happy to talk about payment plans with you. We know this is a really difficult time, and we're always looking at that, and any feedback we're always passing along to our managers and further up. So please keep letting us know. But the best place to start to ask about payment plans is to send an email, and we'll let you know from there. We do request that you don't send just any amount of licensing fees before you check with us, because it does require some like redrafting and paperwork and things like that. But feel free, as always, to check in about those payment plans with us. We're happy to talk about them with you, and we want to make sure that everyone can do theater and continue on.
Exactly. So as you all start to get busy planning your upcoming seasons, we know a lot of people, as we just spoke about, are heavily considering their budgets right now, along with many other moving pieces. And as you're selecting your titles and planning your calendars, we have some ideas to help get the ball rolling.
Yeah, so we're going to talk just generally at first about some ideas about how you can consider your budget as you're looking at shows. Of course, we always recommend small cast shows, less people in those shows as something to consider. One-person plays, 10-minute plays are also good places to start. We also have one-person 10-minute plays. So some of those are great places to start looking at. I would recommend also any of this off-Broadway theater festival anthologies. Those are all 10-minute plays, and you can do one play out of them or the whole anthology and that's a great option as you're like getting back into your theaters, some like smaller ways to start. Of course, also musicals with smaller orchestrations. We will have a couple of suggestions in just a minute, but musicals are always going to be a little bit more expensive. That's just something to know, because there is a rental fee and there is a shipping fee, and those are part of the contract. We can't waive them. You will always have to have some sort of rental package, and then we'll pay to ship them. So plays often are going to be a little bit less expensive, a good way to start. And then we have plays of all sizes, small cast, like I said, one person plays, and then all the way up to much, much larger casts. So those are just some baseline ideas to think about. And on our website, concordtheatricals.com, we do have an advanced search feature. If you're on the main page, the first picture that comes up, I think, will show you how the search. And if you just click on it, advanced search, that will take you to that page. And you can search from all criteria down on that left side, and that'll give you a good place to start looking at shows. And I think, like I said, considering these ideas, of course, we have some titles that we are particularly excited about. So I'll let Will go first with that.
Alrighty, so the first is The Mousetrap. This is a great classic Agatha Christie murder mystery, of course, always very popular in the community theater market. It's casted at 3 females, 5 males. The next is a show called The 39 Steps. This is a 2-time Tony-winning comedy by Patrick Barlow that is also very popular with community theaters. And it also features a pretty small cast of 4. So if you're going the small cast route, this is another good one. Girl on the Train. This is a somewhat recent acquisition of ours that is based on the novel and DreamWorks film, which I heard was very good. Features 3 females and 4 males. This is a great mystery and suspense thriller to kick off an exciting season. And of course, everybody's favorite, The Lightning Thief. Of course, this is one of our newer titles that everybody seems to be super excited about. We were so thrilled to roll it out at the beginning of this year. It has been getting a ton of requests. This is a full-length dramatic comedy musical, and it can be cast actually with 7 actors of any gender.
Yeah, and then a couple from me. We do have a new version of Our Town. It's Our Town Multilingual, and it is very exciting, and it's completely reimagined, and it layers on languages and culture, and we really encourage everyone to check this out. You can read more details about it on our website as well. Another title I love to pitch is Imogen Says Nothing. It's a revisionist look at Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, and it takes a look at the character of Imogen, which was probably a mistake in the first folio of that play, and that character has no lines. So they're exploring that and what that means, and that's a show of 2 women and 7 men. So it is a larger cast, but it's got a lot of really comedic moments. It's a really fun show. If you're looking like something like Shakespeare in Love, but a little bit more straight comedy, that's a good way to go. And then finally, Murder for Two. I saw this show in New York when it was here a couple years ago, and I can confirm it is very fun. It's a murder mystery that unfolds in 90 minutes, and it has just 2 people playing 13 characters. It is a small orchestration. In fact, it is so small, it is just a piano that is required. And both of the characters, both of the actors can be cast as any gender. So that's actually a really fun and flexible addition to any season.
And with that brief overview, we can go ahead and take some questions now. We actually had a few sent in ahead of time, so we can start with those. Sam, do you want to read the first one?
Yeah, and actually Chris put it back in the chat as well, but there is a question about securing rights to a play across multiple locations. The thing to know about our license agreements is they are each just for one location and one set of dates. So if you're looking to take a show to multiple locations, you will need to submit multiple applications. And when you submit multiple applications, there is a special comment section. This is true of any of our license requests, but there is a special comment section towards the end, and you can let us know that it is connected to an application that you already submitted. That's particularly helpful with musicals, because if you are taking them to multiple venues in the same city, we can look at those rental fees and whatnot because you will already have materials. But it is good for us to know if the production is connected. If we're looking at something that is a longer timeline in like multiple cities, that sort of falls into a different class of licensing, and you'll just want to email us and let us know so that we can take the proper next steps to that. Also, if you're submitting multiple applications for the same show, same production, feel free to send us an email at nonprofessional@concordtheatricals.com, just so we have a heads up and we know that it's coming. And Chris also had the question of outdoor locations, and if it's not a physical space, we have a lot of people who do theater in found space or parks or whatnot. We will still need you to get as close to a maximum capacity number as possible, but whatever your expected attendance is as well, we ask for that figure as well. And again, that's sort of the start for our licensing fee calculation. So just as long as you have a good expected attendance, feel free to put that in. If you know how many chairs you're putting out, things like that, and we will take them. Will.
Okay. There was also a question about the rights to the updated version or the updated script to a show called Misery. And we did check on this, and it seems that Concord Theatricals actually doesn't represent this title or no longer represents this title. And it is a DPS, Dramatist Play Service title. So I guess that's an easy answer for that one. You will want to go ahead and check with DPS for that one.
Thank you, you two. Well, we've got another one talking about the licensing for amateurs when there's going to be a tour. The tours seem to be starting later than some of the requests. So if someone's requesting a show for this summer, is a tour still holding it up even if they're not opening till the fall? Should someone reapply?
Possibly, yeah. It really does depend on the title or catalog. Right now with tours, they are kind of just in this limbo state because of COVID, and they hold certain cities even just for interest. So it's not a massive problem. I wouldn't say there's declining applications because of it, but if you are submitting a license request for a title that does have a national tour gearing up or on pause, I'd say that it's going to take a little bit longer to hear back on your request. Sam, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think that's a great outline of that. Really, any title you apply for could have restrictions for some way, whether that be a tour like this question, or if there's a professional theater that's holding the rights, if there's like Broadway interest, there's lots of reasons why a show might be restricted and why it might take a long time to hear back, or why you might end up being denied that title. We just always recommend that you have backup titles in mind no matter what, even if it's a show that you think, oh, no one else could possibly be doing this. You just really never know. So we just always recommend having those backup titles. And when you are denied a show, we do recommend that you wait probably about 6 months to reapply, just because restrictions don't change much faster than that. Particularly with tours, as Will said, as they're still trying to figure out what those tour stops are going to be, they'll just keep denying it until they have something more set. So we do recommend waiting a little bit of time. But of course, you can always check in with us. We're really here to answer questions. We don't always have all the information, or we might not be able to share all the information, but anything that we have, or if you want to talk through alternative titles, we're always happy to do that. We're just really happy to be a resource for you and try and like help you find a show that so you can continue on with your season.
Yeah. I think it was Mark Morgan that just said he's 0 for 2 so far. Feel free to just send us a list via email of like 5 to 10 or however many titles you're interested in, and we can kind of guide you and go through that list and work with you and give you suggestions as to which ones you can submit where you'll have a higher chance of getting approved, just so we don't have to keep denying over and over.
Well, Samantha, I'm sure you can see there that we're having the question of when a royalty comes back and seems high compared to the potential sales, what would be the process of raising our hands and saying, hey, can you help us? Yeah,
again, a great question. For amateur licenses, again, it's a flat fee up front. So, royalties aren't necessarily negotiable in that way, but as always, like, we're happy to work with you on payment plans. we like really want to work with you so that these shows are something that you can make happen for your season. So the first step is always to email your licensing representatives. That's us, non-professional at concordtheatricals.com. Include that license request number and let us know that the royalty is a little high and you're interested in payment plans or what other options that we have. There is always options as well of decreasing the number of performances, or if you know your expected attendance is a little lower than what you put on the application, we're happy to make those changes as well.
Yeah, essentially, a lot of times we work with what's called the minimum per performance fee. So for a lot of plays, that's around 90 or 125. For musicals, it's a little higher. So, you know, let's say just because of COVID, you know, you're only letting like 10 or 20 people show up per night. We, of course, note that on the agreement and note that in the application, but we, Concord, just contractually can't bill our licensees any lower than the minimum per performance fee. So that's just kind of what the royalties end up being sometimes.
Okay, great. So, and so on the back end, that wouldn't change either. If someone ended up with really low attendance, basically, William, you're saying you're held by the fact that your contract with the creator has a certain rule.
Right. There's a certain minimum per performance fee that we can't go any lower than, no matter what, really.
Great.
Yeah, and we really just, part of that too is we want to make sure that our authors are being accurately compensated for their work. So there is the minimum. And I know some people have probably reached out about this before. You may have seen that go up a little bit in the last couple of years. We're really trying to make sure our authors also have cost of living increased, because this work does come from someone and we want to make sure that they get the compensation for their work.
I think that's a great thing to say, Samantha, because I think sometimes from our point of view, we forget that you're trying to help two different teams, and that just reminds us that that's the way that is, and that you have a certain setup, and then that's what the rules are. Here's the option for you. Before I get to Harold's question, I'm going to ask you one. No one knows better than you two and your colleagues how hard it has been to amalgamate 4 groups. And we all know there's been bumps and bruises along the way and difficulty in getting some contact. Off the fly or off the cuff, if each of you would just tell us one thing that you know is in the pipeline to make things better, we can just look forward to.
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to mind for me is response time, just for emails. This is something that we are constantly improving and working very, very hard to improve, not just for the non-pro market, but all licensing markets across the board. I mean, last year during this time, we received probably like 1,000 times more correspondence than we were used to. So this past year was really difficult, but I think we have gotten to a really good place at this point where we are responding to customers very quickly, and it's one of our highest priorities for sure. I know it's one of my highest priorities to respond to people quickly.
Yeah, same. And we also are constant, and this sort of falls in the same thing, but we are constantly working to better develop our system. So response time, and also so it's more easily accessible to all of you. We just recently went through an update on the licensing dashboard, and we hope that you have noticed that. And of course, if you run into any feedback, please let us know. Send us an email at nonprofessional@concordtheatricals.com. I wish I had a counter for how many times I said that. Because we'll always take that feedback and let our developers know. So we're trying to make it as efficient, as accessible as possible on all sides, whether through email, through our customer service line. We will also say, feel free to give our customer service line a call. That number is at the bottom of the website. And anyone who answers can help you, whether that's someone from the educational team or collegiate team, our customer service team, all of us. The great thing is all of us are trained in all of these things. So like, we're here to help you. If you've sent an email, but you need an answer a little faster, please feel free to give us a call. And if they can help, absolutely. And if not, they'll just let us know that you called so that we can sort of bump that up. So constant development of systems. And then we are also always working on highlighting each imprint and folding in the strength of all of those imprints, so it's all really working as one, and so that we can, for all the titles Concord Theatricals has, you can find all good information from all different imprints, and or that we have all the knowledge so that we can help you find all that information.
Several people have said, hooray, the website changes have been noticed and they appreciate them. So I wanted to make sure to point that out. A question about streaming. Do you see Concord planning to pull back from any of the current rights you've got on streaming? Is that going to diminish or decrease at all, or is that going to hang around?
So right now, regarding digital and virtual rights, we are kind of just doing what all of you are doing. We are watching and waiting just to kind of see how COVID shakes out here. If things get dramatically better, we'll see, but no decision has been made yet. No final decision has been made yet. And when that decision is made, you will all be the first to know. So, I mean, keep an eye on our socials, keep an eye on the website. We're not just gonna flip a switch and turn everything off and leave everybody in the dark. That's not gonna happen. It's gonna be something that is planned and something that we are vocal about and upfront about.
And one
Concord,
big thing,
oh, go ahead, Samantha.
I was just going to say that it's important to remember that Concord Theatricals doesn't actually own any virtual or digital rights. So like any question you have about any particular title, we then ask the representation, and they may have the rights, they may not have the rights. So really it continues to be on a case-by-case basis. There are some shows, some titles, some authors that are already saying no to digital virtual rights, and we will let you know when you apply if that's the case. It is, you know, we keep, as Will said, we're watching and we're waiting. And at this point, I would say, as you're thinking ahead to 2022, probably not digital and virtual rights at this point, but you can always, if we get closer to 2022 and things are still really up in the air, please feel free to keep checking in. But a lot of places are sort of not considering that far in the future at this point. But yeah, just a big reminder that we don't own those rights. So if someone says no, it has come from somewhere, and we have to relay that information. Some places are, or some titles like She Kills Monsters Virtual Realms will always be available as a virtual show because it was written specifically for a virtual show. Some places are a lot more flexible, but again, we're always open to the conversation. We're always open to the feedback. If you have questions, please let us know and we'll let you know what is or is not possible. We'll reach out to the representation. But we're sort of at the same place that you all are with this also.
Thank you very much. It's very clear, I think, for us that we have to just ask. So we're technically at time, but I can see there's just some more questions. We want to be appreciative and just say for AACT, thank you to Samantha and Will. We certainly, Zoom has not cornered us to only 30 minutes. So if the two of you have 10 or 15 more, if it goes that long, can we talk a little bit more?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I'm fine with that.
Right. Then we'll just move right on with the questions and take a look. Are any of the divisions, you know, TAMS, Argent and Hammerstein, or Concord as a whole, trying to move to only selling scripts in terms of the product for us to use? It kind of seems that we're moving more and more towards buying scripts. Is that where we're headed, or is that just sometimes by time?
I believe it is where we are headed. It's going to be something that happens over the next few years. I think right now we just came out with our, what did we come out with? Cinderella, Oklahoma, all the versions of Cinderella. Some of the RNH shows just had their acting editions published, which look gorgeous. So yeah, essentially, I think the long-term goal is when you license a musical with Concord Theatricals, the acting edition, the script, the libretto is going to be available for retail purchase on the website. And then the sheet music, which is in the rental package, that's what gets shipped to you, and that's what the rental fee on the agreement is for. I believe that's the plan.
And that makes sense, but I would just ask you to upchain, then those should come out equal in the end. If we have to buy the product, I would hope that that doesn't mean that our total rental and purchase cost now becomes much more than the rental cost. So I just think that's something for you guys to consider and pass along, that we wouldn't want to see, a great deal of change there. Do you want to give us the generational answer of no to Phantom of the Opera and whether that's coming out anytime soon?
Yeah, that one is still age restricted, and we don't have a timeline for when that will come out. As there are multiple shows that are sort of in the same boat, we always recommend that you are welcome to check in every 6 months or so to see if the timeline has changed. Just feel free to send us an email, we'll let you know. But as of right now, yes, generational answer of we don't know.
Great, thank you. I'm going to put you on the spot again with another question and maybe give you a second to think about it by stating something after I ask the question. You talked earlier, and we know lots of people are focused on doing better for their bottom lines by having smaller casts and smaller, less expensive shows. Let's turn that on its head for a moment. What are the best selling titles you have? The ones that bring in lots and lots of people. And let's talk about increasing income instead of just the saving money side, because both sides of the equation can make us better in our theaters and in our companies. What are some of those titles that we may not think of right off the bat? So while you think about that for a second, I'll also just put the pitch out that I am championing with community theater, and that is, I hope generationally we change this idea that one national tour should stop thousands of theaters across the country from doing a show. I think in the end, there's way more profit for you on the other side. And I'm hoping that equity doesn't continue to hold that. And I say that to every company and every rights group, because I think that's where we need to head. So tell us a couple shows that bring in the bucks and bring in the people.
I mean, I think and most community theaters probably already know this, but Ken Ludwig titles are great. We love Ken Ludwig. There's so many titles to choose from, so many sizes of casts. They're really mostly comedies or romantic comedies. They're really big crowd pleasers. And I mean, I certainly was at least one of those in high school, and I remember having a lot of fun. So I think not only is that good sort of for your bottom line, but also like to get people back into the theater, both audiences and casts, to have a lot of fun. So that's the thing that comes to the top of my head. What about you, Will?
You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown continues to just be a title that is requested off the wall over and over. Community theaters just love this show. Also, Sound of Music, really the R&H shows in general, those really bring people in. Also, a new show that we just acquired and opened up to the amateur market is the SpongeBob musical. I hope people know that and apply for it. It's a great show. A lot of people are really excited about it.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
I grew up with Bob, so.
Congrats on that. So when we talk about scripts, a suggestion was made that it'd be very important for a lot of our small companies and a lot of our volunteer-heavy organizations to know upfront in the process whether they're going to have to purchase scripts, how much they would cost, because that may even change what people choose to do on a show. So maybe that's just a suggestion to upchain, is whether it's rental or purchase, I don't think it matters. Some idea of what that cost will be early in the process might be helpful to people.
Right. Well, the acting editions are listed on the website. I believe most of them are $9.95 a copy. And when you go to apply for a musical, you can always just do a quick search and just type the title into the upper left-hand search bar and see if it, check on it under the shop section. And if it has an acting edition available, that means that the script is separated out from the rental package and available for retail purchase. So you can factor that into the budget when you're applying for the rights for the title.
And once approved, once you get your agreement, it will always list in the agreement what materials are included in your rental. So if you don't see a script or a libretto in those musicals, that you will know that also that will have to be a separate purchase. For plays, I think 99.9% of the time, I'm only going to say 0.9% because just in case, but always those scripts are a separate purchase.
Yeah.
Great. When we talk about when you've said to someone that you printed and sent the scripts like Tuck Everlasting, are those expected to come back and in the pristine condition of all the pencil marks erased?
You can write on them with pen, highlight, do whatever you want, because actually all of the materials here at Concord Theatricals, they're printed on demand just for you and your production. So you may have even noticed, for those of you that license the shows, when you get a rental package from Concord, it lists your license request number. I think it might even list the name of your producing organization. It lists your last performance date. So they're printed just for you, so you can write on them with pen. And when you return them, they're actually just going to be destroyed. They're going to be recycled.
Right.
We do, it is in your agreement where those scripts should be sent back to, but we also have a page on our website, which I'm just going to pop into the chat here shortly, which also now includes a link to prepaid shipping labels. So you don't have to pay to send those materials back. We've got the shipping labels, but we will want those materials back because of copyright issues. We do need them back, and then we destroy them from there.
Are you looking at the idea of ever sending scripts and scores electronically and allowing and giving the permission for someone to do X number of copies for their team that then have to either be returned or promised to be destroyed? Some version that makes it so we don't have to wait for you to print, ship, send, anything like that?
I mean, that all depends on sort of what rights that we have for the title. In most cases, we don't have reprint rights. We don't have copyright. Not copyright. So if we don't have those rights, we can't actually offer them to you. So for the most part, at this point, materials will continue to be printed and sent. We just have to do it that way because of copyright law. There are a few shows in our catalog. She Kills Monsters Virtual Realms is the one that I'm thinking of that does actually have a digital license so that you can buy a file of those scripts and then it goes to your account automatically. So as we, especially with newer titles, we just continue to talk to the representation, and it really just depends on what sort of contract we have on any given title. But for the most part, we don't have those sorts of rights, so they will have to come to you hard copy.
Yeah. And the digital acting edition is something that when you buy it, it goes onto your account. And I believe you can actually print it. It's not just a digital view like the e-play. We also offer e-plays through the Abbott reader.
Perfect. Sorry for the pause there. I was just going to kind of give everybody one last shot. I'll ask you just a fun one since you're both in NYC. The next time we are there, what is the best midtown unknown non-Bubba Gum Shrimp Company restaurant that we need to hit? Samantha?
Ooh, wow. I haven't been to a restaurant in so long. I know which one I'm thinking of, but I don't know
if they're open or survive.
I don't know the name, so I'm just gonna look it up real quick.
I'm already Googling as well.
Oh, so what you're saying is your favorite restaurant's hot plate in the apartment?
I mean, in the last year, certainly.
Yeah.
But also, like, this is not a restaurant, but Schmackery's Cookies. Getting some cookies before or after the show. And they are actually, I believe they're like Broadway theater people owned. So that's a good movie.
Yeah, you also, it's pretty well known, I think, but you can't go wrong with Joe Allen either. That's a pretty classic pre-theater dinner spot.
Okay, yeah. I'll throw out one for everybody. Victor's Cafe, Cuban, on like 51st or so. Love it.
Noted.
The one that I found was B. And it's a little bit more upscale, but they're very good cocktails, and they're both good for before and after the show.
B like just the letter or like a insect?
BEA. So
BEA?
like a name.
Like a girl. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. I don't see any other questions that have come through here. So thank you for the extra time. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate Concord. We especially appreciate you continuing to look forward of how to make all of this better, right? And how we can partner together and make all of that happen. So we really appreciate it, and look forward to chatting with you via email and hopefully in person sometime when we're in New York. Thanks everybody for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you at ACT Fest. Everybody here should be registered. If you're not, you're behind, but you can still get in, so get it done. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
Thank you,
Bye, everyone. Thank you.